so we're diving into something pretty different today. We're looking at The Iron Queens by Lalliboop. It's a wild ride, let me tell you. But it really gets you thinking, like, have you ever felt like those words, women and power, like when you put them together, it just doesn't quite fit?
Oh, absolutely. It's like we're tiptoeing around the whole idea, afraid to really acknowledge how strong women can be.
Exactly. And Lalliboop, she is not tiptoeing. This pen name of hers, Lalliboop, it sounds so cute, right?
Mm.
But her writing, it's sharp, witty, like she's got a switchblade hidden behind a smile. She jumps right in with this whole chicken or the egg thing.
Yeah, and it's brilliant how she uses this classic riddle to
Mm.
show whose contributions get noticed and whose get ignored. She asks, what about the rooster?
Right. Come on, even in a riddle about EGGS, it's the guy who's the star of the show. Reminds me of those caveman pictures, you know? Big dude with a club, ready to bash something. What about the women in those caves? They just, what, hanging out?
Well, that's what we used to think. But now, with all this new stuff archaeologists are finding, it turns out, women back then, they weren't just taking care of kids. They were artists, making tools, maybe even hunting, too.
Makes sense, right? Women always got to be resourceful. Speaking of resourceful, those Venus figurines, those ancient statues of, well, let's just say they appreciated a woman with curves back then. Proof that a little extra padding never hurt nobody, right?
It is fascinating how much those figurines tell us, you know? Like, there's a time when the female form, female power, it was revered, but then things changed. Even big shot thinkers like Socrates, Aristotle,
Mhm.
they weren't immune to strong women. Take Socrates' wife, Xanthippe.
Oh, yeah, her. History kind of paints her as a nag, doesn't it? But is that the whole story?
Hard to say for sure. But then there's that story about her dumping a chamber pot on his head. Now, I don't condone violence or
Like, of
anything,
course not.
but it does make you wonder, right? Like, what if she had good reason to be angry? Maybe Socrates wasn't such a saint himself. Kind of goes back to what Lalliboop's saying about women demanding respect.
For sure. If it had been Socrates chucking stuff at his wife, history probably wouldn't be so quick to brush it off. Speaking of philosophers acting up, there's that whole Aristotle and Phyllis thing.
Ah, yes. Aristotle, the logic guy, right? And in all this art, he's being ridden around like a donkey by this woman, Phyllis.
I know, it's hilarious.
Some say it's fake, just to make him look bad. But then there are these stories about him having a thing for, let's say, strong-willed women.
The imagery is just too funny. Makes him seem kind of human, Like, even this super serious philosopher dude had a wild side. But these stories, they're not just gossip, right? They show us how women found ways to have power, even way back then.
Exactly. Even without official positions or whatever, women were influencing things, challenging things, sometimes even being the one in control. And that's what makes you really think, isn't it? This idea of female dominance, even in these societies we think of as totally male-dominated, it makes you
Nah.
question the whole power structure thing.
And it's like the words we use, right? It's not just history, it's language itself. Like the way we talk about women, sometimes it feels so limited,
Oh, absolutely. The words we use, they shape how we see the world, even if we don't realize it. And Lalliboop, she's got this whole thing about the words woman and man, like where they come from. In Italian, donna, for woman, it comes from domina, which means mistress or lady of the house.
Lady of the house. Okay, that's kind of cool. I could get behind that.
Right. But then there's uomo for man, and that one, it's related humus,
Hmm.
like the earth, the ground.
Wait, so women are powerful ladies and men are dirt. I'm not sure I'm following.
No, it's not that literal. It's more about what those things represent,
Yeah.
Humus. It's about being grounded, stable, always there. While women were often seen as more changeable, emotional.
Oh, okay. Like we're the wild card, and men are supposed to be all steady and predictable.
Exactly. And Lalliboop's point is, these ideas, they get baked into language. It limits how we see both men and women.
Makes you wonder what dictionaries are saying these days. Speaking of, Lalliboop tells this funny story about looking up Donna in this old Italian dictionary. She was expecting some big, empowering definition.
Oh, yeah.
Total letdown. It was all just like wife, mother, homemaker, that kind of stuff.
Of course, because back then, that's all they thought a woman could be. Forget about her strength, her brains, her ability to lead. It's like they completely missed the point.
Seriously. And it's like, hello, what about all the women throughout history who did defy those expectations? The warriors, the queens, the artists who were like, forget your box, I'm doing my own thing.
Exactly. And when they did step out of line, what happened? Slap a negative label on them. Like virago.
Virago. Sounds kind of cool, actually, like a superhero or something.
Not really. It's more like When a woman's strong, assertive, takes charge, that's what they call her. As if a woman can only be strong by acting like a man, basically.
Oh, that's messed up.
It is. And then there's that whole gentler sex thing. Sounds nice, right? Il gentil sexo.
Yeah, it does. But something tells me there's a catch.
Oh, there definitely is. Because phrases like that, they're sneaky, you know? They sound sweet, but really they're all about keeping women in their place. Like, be pretty, be quiet, don't make a fuss.
And Lalliboop is definitely not about being quiet, is she? She's all about women owning their power. And not just in their heads, but physically, too. Didn't she talk about weightlifting?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's big into strength training. And I get it, you know? There's something so empowering about a woman who's physically strong. It goes way beyond looks.
Totally. I remember when I started lifting weights, I got some weird comments. People were like, don't get too bulky or you'll scare away the men. Like, come on.
It's like they don't want you to be too strong, but also not too intimidating. This impossible tightrope walk.
Exactly. And you know what else Lalliboop's not afraid to talk about? The whole violence against women thing, but her take on fear, well, let's just say it makes you think. It's like she's saying, look, bad things happen, right? And women especially, we got to be aware of that.
Yeah, she's not sugarcoating it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Some people might find her approach a little intense, you know? But I think she's coming from a good place. She wants women to feel empowered, not paralyzed by fear.
So instead of being seen as easy targets, it's more like she wants women to have this aura of don't even try it.
Exactly. And I think for her, that comes from a combination of things.
Yeah.
Being physically prepared, obviously, but also this deep sense of self-worth, you know? Like knowing your value, not letting anyone take that away from you.
That inner strength that I've got this energy.
Yes. And it's unfortunate that we even have to talk about this stuff, you know? But I think what Lalliboop's doing, it's important. Even if it makes some people uncomfortable, she's forcing us to face reality.
No doubt. So much to think about with her. It's not every day you pick up a book by a wrestler, you know, and come away with all these, like, life lessons.
That's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes the most unexpected sources can really make you see things in a whole new light.
So if we had to boil it down, what's the one thing you hope people take away from this deep dive into Lalliboop and the Iron Queens?
That's a tough one. I think at its core, it's about owning your strength, whatever that looks like for you, physically, mentally, emotionally. So it's all connected. Don't let anyone put you in a box. And never be afraid to shake things up a little bit.
Love it. Lalliboop, she's definitely a firecracker. Her ideas, they might be a little out there for some, but they definitely make you think. Like, what if the way to stop violence against women isn't about hoping men will suddenly change, but about women becoming so strong, so powerful, that it's just not even an option anymore? Something to think about, right? All right, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning everything.